Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened Buddha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Friends in the Dhamma, in this vast universe, in this whole world, in this entire round of samsara, the Buddha points to one particular thing that overcomes and dominates everything else. To overcome here means to hold everything under its power, to keep everything under its sway. The Buddha says, Namam sabbam, anabhavi, namabhiyo, navijjati, namasa ikadamasa, sabbhava, vasam, anvaguti. This teaching says that these named dhammas, these mental phenomena, hold everything else underneath them. This single type of dhamma, this nature called nama, mentally rules over all. There is nothing greater than these nama dhammas. All beings have fallen under the power of this mental nature. But here, the Buddha is not talking about material form, not talking about rupa. In ordinary worldly thinking, people see physical things as the biggest and most important. The sun, the moon, the stars, trees and vines, rivers and streams, the great earth. All these heavy, solid things are what the world takes to be the truly great realities. People think their lives are ruled by these material things. Even highly educated scientists, who think of themselves as very advanced, run after these physical objects. Now actually, they are getting stuck there. But the Buddha never said that these visible physical things are what truly overpower the world. The Buddha speaks of an unseen nature that holds sway, a nature you cannot see with the eye. That is Namadhamma. What is meant by Namadhamma, dear friends? Contact, phassa, is a nama nature. It is not something material. You cannot grab it with the hand. We experience it, we feel it, but it has no physical form. Our experiences, whether pleasant, painful, or neutral, are Namadhamma. These experiences have no material nature. Can you ever take pleasure in your hand and break off a piece and say, "Here, this is a bit of my happiness"? No, you cannot. Experiences are not even visible. They are formless, only mental. You cannot point to an experience the way you point to a book, a pen, or a pencil. You cannot show it and speak of it as a thing or an object. In the same way, we recognize colors, blue, yellow, red, and so on. And we recognize sounds, smells, tastes, touches, and objects of mind. We recognize people. This is my mother, this is my father, and so on. This ability to recognize is called sanya, perception, and it too is a namadhamma. It is not material, it has no weight, and we cannot call it light or heavy. In just the same way, there is katana, volition or intention. We think about forms, about sounds, about smells and fragrances, about tastes, touches, and mental objects. Again and again, we keep forming intentions and thoughts. This satana is an active nature in the mind. Could we ever cut out our intention from the mind and place it on the table and show it? We cannot. Yet it exists. Is it heavy? Is it light? We cannot really say. It has no material nature, no form at all, no color, no smell, no taste, no tangible quality. Still, it functions very powerfully. So the Buddha pointed to these as truly powerful. Sabbam anabhavi. These mental dhammas overpower everything that the world calls physical. What we have spoken of, contact, feeling, recognition, volition, and also the nature of attending and noting, manasikara. All of these are what truly rule the world. And not only that, we are actually deceived and trapped by these very nama natures. We tend to think we are deluded by the material world, by land and property, houses and goods, food and drink, jewelry, and so on. We imagine that these external objects are what we are most attached to. But in truth, the Buddha explains that we are caught by the inner, unseen side, contact, feeling, recognition, volition, and attention. These inner mental natures, which help us to name and relate to the external material things, are what actually hold us in bondage. Because of that, we cannot free ourselves from the material world. The Blessed One taught this kind of Dhamma. Reflect a little, dear friends. In our daily lives, we keep using this mind, this body, and all these mental functions. We rely on them constantly just to live. But how well do we truly know them? Do we know how these natures operate within us moment by moment? We do not. While we are using this life, we build a big dream world in our minds. We plan houses and doors and all sorts of belongings and vehicles so that we can live in a nice way and succeed in the eyes of the world. Yet, as we live this life and enjoy experiences, do we know the true, natural way these inner processes work? Do we understand what is really functioning behind the scenes? We do not. Within us there is contact. There are feelings. There is the nature that recognizes various perceptions. There are volitions. There are remembering and reflecting functions. But none of these have any color, any sound, any smell. We cannot chew and taste them. Can we eat and experience and taste it? We cannot, so there is no smell there either. Is feeling a fragrance? Is it an odor? This is strange to think about, is it not? We cannot say such a thing. Can we squeeze our intention and see whether it has a scent or a flavor? No. Yet we make constant use of it. We also use the mind itself, but the mind has no color. Can we tap the mind and hear what kind of sound it makes, whether it is hollow or solid? No, we cannot even knock on it like that. But we use it all the time. It has no visible form, no sound. What kind of sound comes out of the mind? Is there such a sound? Has anyone heard the sound of the mind? No. No one has tasted the mind either, by biting it and checking its flavor. We cannot seize it and hold it up as an object and say, "Here, this is the mind." Yet we use this mysterious, formless, imageless inner mental nature to enjoy the physical world. For the sake of experiencing this world, we have created a beautiful outer world for ourselves, houses, families, children, and we go out to meet experiences. But when we look inside, what is it that actually experiences? It is something like a magical illusion, is it not? So we do not see it, we do not hear it. It has no fragrance, no taste, no tangible feel, and we cannot grasp it as an object. This astonishing, illusory, inner mental nature, without any shape or image at all, is what we are using in order to enjoy this material world. Is it not so? But do we ever turn back and ask, who is the one that enjoys this world? Who is the enjoyer of the material world? It is this very mysterious Nama nature that enjoys. It is a deceptive nature that is experiencing this. Can we take anything here as truly solid and permanent? This is how our experiencing happens. This is the shape, the structure of our experiencing. This is the shape of our perceptions. This is the shape of our volitions, our intentions. This is the shape of the contacts we experience, the structure of our contact. This is the structure of our own mind. But who has actually seen this? Reflect a little, dear devotees, and see how far the Blessed One, the Buddha, reflected about this. While we build up things in this material world and think of moving towards success in the material world, the very natures we use to experience this material world and to move towards that success are deceptive. Using an inner, deceptive dominature, which has no real inner image or solid form, we search for success in the material world. Do you think that is truly right? Do you think success in the material world will really be obtained? Now, as I speak a little about this materiality, I will mention a few small points connected with name and form, Namarupa. While speaking on this, dear devotees, I will ask you a question, expecting a thoughtful, intelligent answer from you. Please reflect a little. Now we speak about this great earth. Just think, if I take this book into my hand, I feel a certain weight. If I take this cup, this flower vase, into my hand, I feel a weight. This chair is heavier than that. Then you know how heavy this building must be, don't you? In this way, with the mind, we impose a certain physical weight on this world, and we try to give it a permanent perception. See how much we are caught by the world in this way. If I then ask you, so how heavy is this great earth? Could you lift it? But someone could ask a question like this. If these things are so heavy, if you place a black stone up high somewhere, will it not fall? It falls because of weight, doesn't it? It is heavy, isn't it? The earth pulls it. That is why it falls. Well then, if this is truly heavy, people actually think that within this material world, weight is something absolutely real. Now look and see, according to Dhamma, how correct that feeling and that way of thinking is. How heavy do you think this great earth is? It is so heavy that you cannot even say it in kilos. But reflect. If this great earth is truly heavy, why does it not fall? If the earth is heavy, it should be pulled somewhere to the edge of the universe and fall down. But now look, where is this great earth? This earth, which you think is heavy, where is it? It is in space. How is it held there in space? Give an answer. Have you reflected on it? It is something to think about. Then a wise person can question, how is such a heavy thing resting in space? If it is absolutely heavy, it should break loose and fall. There are planets even heavier than this. Those too should break loose, fall, and roll until they reach the end of the universe and drop. Do they fall? They do not, do they? Then reflect on this. So this materiality that we have conceived, this is heavy, this is substantial. Is that nature truly real? Next, I will speak of a few present-day things. What has happened to scientists today? These were beautifully taught by the Buddha long ago. Now reflect. You see a dream. In that dream, do you not see distant mountains? You see trees and vines. You see buildings. You see vehicles moving. You see people as well. And when you are walking in that dream, are you not walking on a great earth? You walk on a ground, on an earth. If in that dream your foot strikes against a stump or something, you feel pain there, don't you? I mean within the dream. Dust flies up. If you look up, sometimes you may see the moon. You may see mountains and rocky cliffs. Then, in the dream, a feeling arises in you. How heavy these mountains and rocks must be. Doesn't such a thought arise? Sometimes, in the dream, if you take a stone and throw it upwards, that stone also goes and falls somewhere. You think, this stone is heavy. That mountain I see is heavy. The ground I walk on is heavy. That feeling arises, doesn't it? But tell me, is that feeling, that physical sense of weight, truly real? Is the earth you see in the dream real? Is it truly heavy? It is not heavy, is it? Yet in the dream, you have the feeling that it is heavy. From where did that feeling arise? That, dear ones, is the illusion of consciousness, Vijnanamaya. It is from the mind that this feeling of weight is given. Apart from that, within materiality, there is no absolute, independent physical weight in that way. But still, if within the dream, someone were to come and say to you, even though that mountain appears heavy, it is actually not heavy. This is neither truly heavy, nor truly light. This is an illusion. If it were really heavy, then it should break and fall. And if he tells you, within the dream, these trees and rocks that you see, though they appear physically heavy, you are not physical there. You are mind-made, created by mind. Would you not laugh at that person? You might even pick up a black stone and show him, see, how can you say this is not heavy? You might even hit him with a black stone and say, don't tell lies. If, in the dream, someone comes and tries to show you reality and says, the ground you are walking on is not a real earth. It is something existing only in space. If this were a real earth, a truly physical thing, then it should fall to the edge of the universe. If someone speaks like this about that earth within your dream, you will not accept it. Why do you not accept it? Because you have no wisdom there. Why? Because you are inside the dream. When you are inside the dream, you cannot understand the dream. In just that way, what we see now in this world is a daytime dream. Do you think that when you wake up from the night dream and see that night dream, you believed it was true while it lasted? You lived in it. At that time, you did not remember your job, your wife or husband, your children, your house and doors, or any of the daytime work you had set aside. When you see a dream at night, if someone comes to beat you, at that moment, what is the most precious thing in your life? In that dream, the most precious thing is to run and protect your life. Do your children matter then? Do your house, doors, vehicles, lands, and your job, which you paused during the day, matter at that moment? What matters then? In that dream, when someone comes to beat you, what matters is saving your life there. But is that a real life? It is false, isn't it? Your real body is lying on the bed. But even that, from another angle, is not ultimately real. From that particular angle, relatively, it is real there. But when one sees the true reality of the world, even that is false. I am asking you to understand that other side. In that dream, you run to save your life, thinking it is real. But when you wake up, you realize from what foolishness you were running. Now you think that this is real. Do you think that, waking up from the dream you saw last night, you have now come into the real world? There is exactly where we go wrong. A person thinks, after seeing the night dream and waking up, now this daytime experience is the real one. That one was false. But when, after spending the whole day doing all sorts of tasks, you sleep and see that dream, then this becomes false, and that becomes real for you. Tell me, which dream is true? Which one is real now? Both are false. Why do we not have the courage to understand that both are false? We do not have the strength to understand that both are false because ignorance, avidya, is very strong. We are now moving from dream to dream. Therefore, what I am telling you now is not something of mine. I am giving examples from the Dhamma of the Blessed One. Now, we can see, by reason and examples I showed you, that if this great earth were truly a material thing with a great weight, it could not simply remain hanging in space. It would have to fall. I am explaining this to you while you are still in the daytime dream. Then you cannot accept it. Why? Because you feel weight now. Your feet feel weight. You know that if this roof breaks and falls, your head will be crushed and you will die. So you are thinking now in your heart how heavy these things on this earth really are. But you do not know that this feeling of weight, this physical feeling, arises dependent on the illusion of consciousness, Vijnanamaya. You are trapped by what? You are trapped by the mind. That is why the Blessed One declared that the most fearful, most terrible deceiver in this world is the mind. When we carry that deceiver within, how can we see the truth here? You might think, surely I have enough wisdom to understand that this is not really heavy. You can understand it, but great wisdom is needed. This earth is neither truly heavy nor truly light. One calls something heavy only in comparison to something lighter, and light only in comparison to something heavier. I will give one more small example. What you must understand from this is this. In seeking success in the material world, by piling up material things, we are actually failing in the true sense. We are trying to make a success out of this daytime dream. Therefore, this matter is very important. Now let us take an example. Consider Venerable Moggallana, who, after the Blessed One, had the highest psychic power. Such ones could create things that did not exist, and make existing things disappear. Now, from the discourses themselves, let us take an example. As I recall, it was the Arahant Dabba Thera. He was the one who arranged the lodgings and huts for the Sangha when they came to the monastery. Yes, Dabba Thera. Venerable Thabbamalaputta was an Arahant, wasn't he? He had great psychic power. He did not need a torch in the forest at night. By joining to the fire element concentration, he could bring forth light just from the tip of his thumb and walk through the forest by that light. He would gather the Sangha and tell them, "Go and settle down in your huts." But what is important here is this. He created those huts by psychic power. He made them with the mind. Suppose this building here had been created by psychic power. Imagine earlier, there was only an empty plot of land. Then, through psychic power, someone made this whole building appear here. A person who did not see it being created, when he comes later, will think, this is a real, solid building that has always been here. Won't he? He does not know it was only a created thing. In the same way, the elder, with his psychic power, created huts in far and distant parts of the forest for the monks. There was no difference at all between those and ordinary huts. They looked just like the ones you see now. The monks would go there and live in those huts. They did not know they were created by psychic power. They did not know that something that was not there had been brought into existence. They thought these are normal huts that were already here. They would lie down on those beds and rest. They would hang their bags and robes in the usual places and be at ease. Now see what happens. In the very early morning, the elder makes a determination with his psychic power. At such and such a time, let all these huts disappear. Some monks wake up very early, some sleep until it becomes light. Those who sleep until daylight, when they finally get up, find their bags hanging on the trees, but they themselves are lying on the bare ground. There is no hut at all. What do you think at that moment? Think about it. The previous night, they spent in a good, solid bed, in what felt like a proper physical hut. They could even touch the walls, hear the sound of their solidity. Then how did it all vanish? Reflect on that. That is something a person with psychic power can construct with the mind. Something that appears material, that can be made and unmade. We get deceived and take that constructed thing as truly material. But how can something that was only created as a mental image fall apart into the space of the world for any real reason? It is a created picture, a mental image, not truly heavy or light. Now consider the mind. Is consciousness heavy? Is the mind heavy? It has no color or form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no tangible quality, no shape you can grasp, and you cannot even hold it as a clear picture. Yet still, this kind of nature exists. So to say of it, it is heavy or it is light is not correct. But such a nature does exist. When that non-heavy, non-material mind creates something, and then someone says about that created thing, it is heavy, it is physical. How correct is that? How fair is that? Think wisely. From a mind that has no weight, no material form, to produce something that merely appears material. Can we really say that what is produced is truly material? Reflect carefully. If from a non-material nature something is made that appears as material, there are no solid reasons, no real grounds to call that thing truly material. Why? How can something genuinely material be produced from what is not material? Still, that immaterial, mental nature can fashion an appearance like material form. That is why the Buddha described this entire samsaric world with one word, Mosadhamma, a deceiving nature. Remember this well. Mosadhamma means this whole round of existence has a cheating, misleading character. So then, this great earth, onto which we project materiality, is in fact a creation of the mind. That is why I gave the example. The elder creates a hut, with tiles, clay, bricks, the whole thing, in a single moment, by psychic power. Someone who sees it can think, oh, this is heavy. If he thinks it is heavy, that is wrong. If he thinks it is light, that too is wrong. The correct understanding is, this is something made by the mind. Then what do you think this material world we now enjoy really is? The table your hand can touch here. We do not have to analyze each tiny element of it right now. That is another method. Here I am explaining according to the sutta approach. This building we see, all this which feels so solid and material, weighs heavily on us, doesn't it? Keep this in mind. This is what is called natural psychic power. What is natural psychic power? Because we have obtained a mind, conditioned by our past karma. Our karmic force gives rise to a mind, and according to that mental energy, this world is now created for us. It is created by the mind. That is called natural psychic power. Natural psychic power does not mean something we deliberately create by entering jhana through great effort and strong concentration. That too can be done. And that is what arahants with developed psychic powers do when they enter absorption and create things. That is a different case, not natural psychic power. The world we are now experiencing is called natural psychic power, because through the delusion of consciousness, this apparent world has arisen for the sake of our continued existence. Let me give you another small example. The way we think of this world is wrong. Because of how we conceive it, we push physical explanations to the extreme and try to produce marvelous developments and great wonders in this world. We think this is what we are doing. Once a certain monk was meditating by a river. a non-human being came and said, "Venerable sir, I am very thirsty. Please give me some water." The monk replied, "Why? Right in front of you, a river is flowing. Go and drink from there." Then the non-human said, "Venerable sir, although a river is flowing, when I go there it becomes blood." Now, that is a very good question. We normally think this world exists in a fixed, purely physical way. It was here yesterday, it is here today, it will be here tomorrow. We believe we have come into an already existing world, will enjoy it, and then go. We hold a notion of permanence about this great earth, but in truth, in that very moment, by the power of consciousness, this earth arises. This building arises by the strength of consciousness. Even that consciousness is not mine. If it were truly mine, we could command it not to be afflicted, but sometimes people even complain. I did not intend this thought, but it came. The mind itself is not self, and what is made by that mind is also not self. We only have a grasping, that is all. So how did the prey see blood instead of water, while the monk saw water instead of blood? Do you think there were actually both blood and water there, or only water, or only blood? This is a good question. Try to answer it for yourself. There was not certainly water alone, nor blood alone in that way. The monk had the karmic power to see water. According to his mental strength, at that moment, natural psychic power produced a river there. This is how things are to be seen in the world. Otherwise, we fall into the view of a permanent world existing out there on its own. In truth, when I look this way, only this side arises. Behind me, everything is ceased. You may think, but things are there behind you now. Yet for you, behind does not exist. For me, what is behind you exists. That is how the world is, rather subtle and complex, isn't it? But this is how it truly is. This is what the Buddha's teaching, in its depth, trains us to see. It summons us towards vision. If one does not come to such a vision, one cannot obtain true protection in this world. One will go on seeking security in the material world. An Arya disciple never seeks final safety in material things. That does not mean an Arya disciple does not build houses, doors, raise children, do jobs, or maintain property. He still does these things, but with right understanding. Today, however, do people act with that true understanding? They do not. Therefore, good devotees, you must understand well, this world we keep calling material is, in truth, only a reflection in the mind. When you stand before a mirror, you see your own image. You may have checked and found your body weighs 50, 60, or 70 kilos. When you stand before the mirror and your image appears, does that shadow in the mirror weigh 50 kilos? Is it light then? Both are wrong, because you cannot apply ideas of heavy and light there. Heavy and light are always relative to something else. In that moment, what you must understand is, this is a picture created in the mind. Why is it that we cannot see the world in that way? Now, when you hold a book in your hand and look at it, you feel there is a certain solidity. Then you use that sense of solidity, and you fix on it the idea, this is truly solid. This has real substance. This is something permanent. To do that, you are using a mental force that is not material at all. See how childish that is. To prove to yourself, this is material, this has substance, this is permanent. You actually use something that is not seen, not material, not a color, not a sound, not a smell, not a taste, not a pleasant feeling, not even a purpose. It has no shape or form either. You use only a mental nature to certify Yes, this is material. How naive is that? This is why the Buddha declared that this world is a mirage, an illusion. He compared the world to a mirage seen in the desert. Now, can a mirage truly be heavy or light? Is a mirage heavy or light? If you say it is heavy, that is wrong. If you say it is light, that is also wrong. In the same way, this world is like that. That is the nature of an illusion, the nature of a dream. When you dream, you see trees, rocks, vehicles, lands, houses, all these things. But when you wake up from the dream, if I ask you, those mountains you saw, were they heavy or light? If you say heavy, that is wrong. If you say light, that is also wrong. Do you see? That is why the Buddha explained this world as something illusory, like a mirage. Yet people are afraid to realize Nibbana. Why are they afraid to see Nibbana? Because in this false, deceptive nature, they think there is something truly real. The Buddha has spoken of this in a verse. Moha sambandhano, loko baba rupo, vadisati, upadi, sambandhano, balotamasa, parivarito, sasato, tikakayati, pasato, natikinkanam. 1. This is a deep stanza. 1. Moha sambandhano loko, for one bound by delusion, the world appears as real. 1. To whom does the world appear as truly real? Only to one covered over by delusion. This great earth itself appears as something heavy only to the one clouded by delusion. He will argue, no, it really is this heavy. But if you question him carefully and go into the reasons, he gets stuck. Delusion can never stand up against wisdom. Then, upadi sambandhano balo. The foolish person is one who has given value to various things, who has clung to possessions and substrates. Bala here does not mean a small child, it means one who is childish in wisdom, a foolish person. Having given value, having built up heaps of so-called valuable things, he lives surrounded by them, wrapped in great darkness. Tamasa parivarito, his life is enveloped by that great darkness of delusion. Sasato tikakayati, to such a deluded person, the world seems truly existing, truly real and lasting. But finally, the verse says, Pasato nati kinkanam, and this word, pasato, for one who sees, is the important point. For one who sees clearly, who sees reality as it is, in the end, there is nothing at all to be grasped. Nati kinkanam, nothing remains as that originally imagined thing. So if someone has thought in a marvelous way, in this world, there is some great wonder, some astonishing thing, some solid physical essence, something truly permanent, that person is simply blinded by delusion. When wisdom arises, that person sees the world as a mere illusion. When the world is seen as an illusion, what happens? He understands this cannot truly be possessed. People fear Nibbana because they think this seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, all these experiences can be possessed and are already possessed. They think these visible things can be obtained, these sounds can be obtained, and I have already obtained so many things. For example, you may think, I have a house and land, vehicles, properties, goods, money in my bank account. I have all of this. But in truth, you cannot prove that you can actually obtain those things right now. At this very moment, you cannot really take and show that you have obtained them. When we say, now take it and show that you have it, you cannot do that, and that is not understood. Why is it not understood? Suppose I take this book into my hand and say, see, I have obtained this. That is not real obtaining. That is being deceived into thinking, I have obtained this. At the moment it touches my hand, I think, now I have got it. But what is there in truth is only the thought I have got it. Look carefully. When you practice insight, examine this well. If something has truly been gained, what is really there is just the idea, I have gained it. That is all. The Buddha said that beings in the world are caught not by real physical things, but by their thoughts. They are trapped by concepts, by mental labels, by sanya, perception. They are unable to go beyond those perceptions. So when you think, I have obtained, understand that what you have is only the idea, the mental picture. I have obtained. Let us say you go to the shop and bring back an apple, and you squeeze it in your hand. You look and you think, now I have got this apple. What you truly have is only the thought, I have got it. Observe this well. That thought arises and passes away in the mind itself. Can you take that thought, I have money in my bank account, and actually obtain that thought as a thing? For example, you know there is money in your bank account. You can think that thought. But the thought that there is money in my account, can you take hold of that thought and keep it? It arises and falls away. Then again you think a new thought. Yes, there is money in my account. And again it falls away. Can you obtain the thought itself that there is money in my account? Could you cut that thought out of your mind and place it on the table and show it? Here it is, in this shape. Can you prove this consciousness that says there is money in my account has this smell, this color, this shape, this weight, this taste, this texture? Can you prove any of that about the thought? Then how do you prove that the money in your bank account is really yours? You are only caught by a thought. This, the Buddha said, is not a heavy chain that we can break by cutting some outer physical thing. It is a very subtle bond made of thought itself, like the Vipassiti bond. The Buddha speaks of the conflict between the Devas and the Asuras. He says that Sakka, king of the Devas, once bound the Asura Vipassiti, but not with ropes. He bound him with a thought. That is an enormous bondage. How is someone bound by a thought? When that Asura thinks, these Devas are unjust, the Asuras are the good ones, then, together with that repeated thought, he becomes entangled and bound. It is not ropes that bind him. But when he thinks instead, the Devas are righteous, we are in the wrong, the knot is loosened. See what kind of bondage Devas themselves can have. So how subtle is that bond? It is a bond made purely of thought. Yet the Buddha says, monks, there is an even more serious bondage than that, and all beings in the world are caught in that bondage. They are trapped by thought itself. Therefore the Buddha says, monks, if you think that this world is permanent, you are bound to samsara. You are imprisoned in the round of rebirth, not by ropes, but by that very thought. But if you think it is impermanent, the knot loosens. If you think, in this world there is happiness, then, clinging to that idea, you keep getting tied to samsara. But if you think this world is suffering, the knot comes undone. See the nature of this bondage of thought. What physical chain is there really? So you can understand that in the Buddha's teaching, there is no place for a truly solid materiality to cling to. If someone thinks there is an eternal self, an immortal soul, something that truly exists, he is bound. If he understands there is no self, anatta, he is released. Then you see the real status of thought. So if someone says, I have a vehicle, I have a house and land, I have property, I have this body, it is mine, ask that person questions. You yourself should question yourself in the same way. If this is really mine, what I actually have is only the thought, it is mine, isn't it? Can I obtain that thought itself? When you look straight at that point, you see that you cannot actually obtain it. You cannot take what only appears. It is tantalizing. That is the English word for this. The world is something you can see repeatedly, but you can never really get hold of it. Yet beings in the world think because it is seen, heard, and felt. This is good. This is pleasant. Through this material world, we can obtain some wonderful, beautiful success. But they do not understand that it cannot be truly obtained. As long as they think, because it appears, it can be grasped, they are caught in samsara. When they clearly see the reality that what appears cannot be truly grasped, they are freed from it. In the end, when one is liberated, one is freed not from a real physical substance, but from an illusion. Think of it like this. In a dream, you may obtain many things, yet you fear waking up because you think those things will be lost. If after waking, you look back and think, I lost so many things in that dream. Is that reasonable? Do you really grieve over what you lost in a dream? You do not, because you know it was only a dream, an illusion, not a real gain. In the same way, do not be afraid of seeing Nibbana. On the day you become an arahant, all the things you obtained through countless lives in samsara will appear just like things gained in a dream. You will not sorrow over their loss because you see clearly. It was a dream. It was a mirage. It was never a true gaining. It was all a deception. What we try to obtain in this world is only an illusion. Even if we think we have gained something real, it is actually false. Then why is it that we cannot see this daytime dream clearly in this way? Why is it that arahants never grieve over the arahant fruit they have attained? Why do they feel compassion instead for these foolish, ordinary people, these uninstructed worldlings? These foolish people think that the things that appear in this dream are truly there, moving and wriggling about. But when one wakes up from this, one understands. That pleasant, beautiful comfort I enjoyed was only a relief, born from a lie. These people do not really have that at all. Do you see? An ordinary worldling thinks, oh, how much suffering that arahant must be in. He has none of the material wealth we have. He has none of these household pleasures. But the arahant thinks from the other side, how unfortunate these foolish people are. They do not have the peace that we are experiencing. In this way, the Buddha explained that there is a great gap between the ordinary worldling and the arahant, as vast as the distance from the sky to the earth. Because of this, people are afraid of Nibbana, since they think there is a world where one can keep seeing and gaining all these things. But in this long wandering on, in this endless samsara, how many things have we obtained? Where are all those things now? Are they stored somewhere in this space, piled up and tied with ropes, kept in some warehouse in the sky so that you can now go and fetch them? All the gold, silver, pearls, jewels, houses, doors you gathered in past lives, are they kept somewhere in space so that you can go and bring them back now? Today, the same thing is happening. However much you heap up now, in the next life, it will all become the past, like a dream, will it not? But even though we talk like this, why do we still not try to see this world as a dream, as a magical illusion, Still we think there must be something real in this. No matter how much the monks say, no matter how much the Buddha taught, we still feel there must be something in this, surely. Is it not so? We want to go along with this as well. That is what is called delusion. So this is not an easy matter. But once you know this, you can begin to think. Then what is this really? Let me investigate. Do you understand? Now, I will tell you, as I have had time to look at it, what has happened to scientists. This point is very important. Today, scientists have become utterly helpless. You might remember that in earlier times, they challenged the Dhamma, saying, the atom is eternal. Then they broke the atom into 3 particles: electron, neutron, proton, 3 forms of energy. Now, with modern technology, they have further divided this into about 2,000 types of energy. At first they thought there must be some solid essence within materiality. Now they have managed to name about 200 such forms, but beyond that, they cannot name them. Why can they not fix names for them? Because when they try to name these subtle energies, they cannot give a stable, fixed name. The nature of these energies is to take on different forms, to change and shift. So now these scientists say, in truth, in these physical things there is no lasting essence at all. What we call matter is constantly changing. The Buddha beautifully stated this long ago. Conditioned by consciousness, name and form arises. Vijnanapakaya namarupam. The Buddha also taught that if someone keeps breaking down form, searching within form for an essence, that person will not find any essence in form. Instead of form, what will stand out again is the mind. Yet for one who then goes searching after the mind, in the end, the mind will not be found either. In place of mind, once again the world of form will stand out. This is a very profound point. Let me give a small example. Imagine you are walking in a desert. Far off from where you stand, you see a mirage. It looks like water. You want to go close to that water. You walk there, but when you reach that spot, the water disappears, and you now see water appearing back where you first stood. Then you come back here to get the water. When you arrive here, there is no water here. Again you see water over there, where you stood before. So you cannot get water here, simply because you came here, and you cannot get water there simply because you went there. But when you go there, it appears here. When you come here, it appears there. Was there water in either place? It only looked as if it were there. That is what the Buddha meant by saying that the forms in this world are like a mirage, something that appears to exist but cannot truly be grasped. Today, physicists also say that although these things seem to be in the world, in the ultimate sense they do not have a way to truly exist. So at the end, they are being driven back towards the Buddha's Dhamma. Under the name particle physics, particle science, they keep investigating more and more. They say, here we are, now there is a distance between me and you. But according to this particle science, they now say there is in reality no gap. Everything is connected. All are connected by subtle particles. Is that not exactly what the Buddha taught? That everything is connected by mind? So whatever these scientists say, it has already been beautifully explained in the Buddha's Dhamma. The physicists have become helpless because, having broken physical things down, they cannot find the solid, substantial core they expected to find in this heavy, weighty earth. They have not found it. They now say, What we call matter changes when it is thought about. So they have reserved the next 100 years to investigate the mind, saying, now we must explore the mind. We no longer have big questions about materiality. They once clung strongly to matter, but now they say, we must inquire into mind. Yet even when they investigate the mind, they will arrive at failure. Consider how fortunate a true Buddhist is. A disciple of the Buddha can understand all this clearly, even before conducting such experiments. The genuine scientists are truly the disciples of the Buddha. The Buddha teaches that for one who goes seeking the mind will not be found. In place of mind, again some physical appearance becomes prominent. But it is not truly physical. It is something that merely appears like matter. When you keep breaking this body down further and further, no essence will be found in it. It becomes like a mirage. Then again the mind becomes prominent. This is the meaning of the earlier simile, is it not? The mind itself has the nature of a mirage, and the visible physical world also has the nature of a mirage. But when the mind becomes burdened, then, like that distant mirage of water, the world of form appears very strong and real. Yet when you keep breaking form apart and examining it deeply, what you expected to find there is not found, and again the mind stands out. From this, the Buddha's meaning is that the mind too is false. The mind too is illusion. The world that the mind presents as material is also illusion, a mirage, a dream. So neither of the two has any real worth. Both are false. When one understands that both are false, what happens? One is freed from both. That is liberation, release. Then is there no such thing as liberation, no such thing as freedom? There is. Think well about this. When someone attains arahantship and then passes into final nibbana, after that nothing has been lost for that person. People fear becoming arahant, thinking that something will be lost. But however long a being stays in samsara, even if they think they have gained many things, in truth, there has been no real gaining at all. There has been no true acquisition. If such a real acquisition truly existed, then in the countless aeons we have wandered in samsara, how many things would we have gained? Have we kept even one of them? It is like a dream we saw long ago, is it not? In the same way, this dream we are seeing now, this daytime dream, is not real. We are living, listening to Dhamma now, not in a truly existing world. It is an impermanent world, anicca, a world of impermanence. It has the nature called moha-dhamma, delusion, as its root. But when this impermanent nature is known precisely as impermanent, when one truly understands impermanence as impermanent, then impermanence itself comes to an end. The Buddha has given us a most marvelous method for release. Without impermanence, we would have no way at all to become free. Using impermanence itself, the nature of impermanence is brought to an end. The world comes to its end. After that, what happens? That very impermanent nature ceases. The parinibbana of the aggregates of an arahant means that this impermanent nature itself has been extinguished. Then there is complete peace. So even though someone has remained in samsara, that person cannot truly gain anything. One cannot prove any real gaining at all. There is only the thought, I have obtained something. I can obtain something. Caught by that thought, beings wander on in samsara. But on some day, when they understand that this thought itself is wrong, and they attain arahantship and pass into nibbana, through that passing away, nothing at all is lost to them. Do you think there is something that gets lost? People fear that something will be lost when one becomes an arahant, when one passes into nibbana. Why? Because they assume that samsara truly exists. But even within that samsara, which they assume to exist, they cannot truly prove that anything really exists. Someone might say, I have obtained something. I have got hold of this book. I am holding it. But that is only my mental impression. I cannot break that impression up, put it on the table, and show, here, this is the experience of having obtained the book, and hand it to someone. Because of this, the Buddha finally declared that in the ultimate sense, even one's own self does not exist. So what child, what property, what land and wealth can there be? Therefore, we do not need to cry and lament over any of those things. Even for ourselves, there is, in truth, no one there. If we understand that in this seen world, we cannot truly obtain a self, and we cannot truly obtain the world, then we can attain that noble liberation and, on some day, pass into nibbana. On that day, nothing at all will be lost. If nothing new is lost, and even now, there is nothing that can truly be gained, then what problem remains there? There is no problem at all. So why should people fear seeing nibbana? There is no need to be afraid of nibbana. Therefore, open your mind to the path to nibbana, knowing clearly that we live in a false world. For this reason, I think these Dhamma points will be very beneficial to us. Use your wisdom to inquire into them and develop the power of reflective investigation. Padasankanabala. Investigation with wisdom is a strength. Without that, we cannot see nibbana. So by discussing this noble Dhamma, may these teachings become conditions and supportive power for the supreme realization of nibbana. Let us say, Sadhu, Sadhu, and share the merits with today's donors and supporters.